I've never seen myself as just one thing, and I made sure no one else could either. By staying true to myself, making my own path, rising above expectations, and opening the door for others to be their true selves. The first spirit, made with VSOP Cognac, finished in bourbon casks, Martell Blue Swift, soar beyond the expected.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I am 𝐂�𝐍𝐕𝐄𝐑𝐒𝐊𝐈𝐿𝐿𝐼, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show. As always, I'm here with my friend, Mr. Martell himself. Tonight, I'm having some Martell Blue Swift VSOP, and we are having one of those conversations. We are having a conversation that is 2 years in the making. I've been trying to get this young lady on for legit 2 years because, you know, she's so in such high demand. But I'm very, very excited to finally be able to have this conversation with her, with you guys. So I'd love to introduce you guys to the beautiful, the intelligent Rima King, attorney at law, NFT advisor, consultant, everything in this space. Rima, finally, welcome.
Woo! Yeah, I'm so excited to be here, everyone. Thank you for your, very awesome Cognac kind of interview style, understanding that we're going to have a great time today. I want to let you know I'm having tea instead of anything stronger, and there's a lovely word here called laugh, which is what we're going to do throughout this podcast at the NFT and Metaverse world right now.
Okay, great. I mean, I would have preferred it was a French tea. You know how you make anything into a French coffee, a French tea, you just add cognac to it. But maybe next time we'll have a in-person line and I'll force you to have some cognac.
Yeah, I think 2 years calls for part 2, right?
For sure. But as we get started, I'm going to ask you what I ask everyone when they come on the podcast. How did you get involved in this crazy crypto space, especially as a woman? I know you've been in this space for a very long time. Back when the space was heavily dominated by men. It's still to this day, unfortunately, heavily dominated by men. But I know women like yourself are doing a lot more in this space. So tell us your journey.
Actually, I had quite a pleasant journey in London. I had a friend who was an early adopter, and he was there in the Bitcoin pizza days, tech nerd, the whole understanding behind it. And he sat me down one day in 2016 and he taught me everything about crypto. I was like, what is this? This is so awesome. And I some Bitcoin was like barely like 3 figures, nothing, very low 3 figures, nothing much. But I've had such a cool journey. I absolutely love my crypto people, and I have such a following of NFT Metaverse people now. But I think crypto always has my heart, all the altcoins and all the pumps and dumps, and just seeing the market go up and down. It really shows that we're in a volatile environment, but the people are very, very strong.
Yeah, I mean, and so coming in as someone who came in the way that I think you should be introduced, via Bitcoin first, and then being exposed to the altcoins and then growing into it. What was it for you about NFTs that kind of grabbed your attention?
Well, I think NFTs quite complemented the cycle for the crypto. So in Twitter, which is where a lot of my crypto family are based, and a lot of my NFT Metaverse family, they're based. I was one of the people who, when Twitter Spaces first came out, I was one of the first people there, like 2021, 2022, hosting these 1,000-room Twitter Spaces, and it was just crypto and lots of laughs. And I was doing that with local celebrities and different things. It was really fun. And that just, naturally matriculated into the NFT conversation, because obviously that huge thing was happening with the CryptoPunks.
Right.
And then the Bored Ape Yacht Club, I remember I saw them before they were even popular, when they were also like low thousands. But I'm so sad I did not buy one at that time. I was like, what is this, a JPEG? I was just so interested in JPEGs, and people were like, I'm going to lose all my money, let's do it. And I was like, what is going on? Is this coffee they're drinking? Let me stick to tea. That was my first that was my first take on NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see and relate to your experience with the Twitter Spaces, because I always say that, I mean, I've worked in the corporate environment for 20 years in traditional corporate finance, in very big organizations. I've worked on projects with consultants like McKinsey and all these different things. But I have to say that the crypto and blockchain space for me has been one of the most collaborative environments I've ever been involved with. So I could definitely see how, starting there, truly Spaces, building relationships, building networks there, would have helped you to easily like matriculate over to the NFT space.
Yeah,
But what was it? Go ahead, sorry.
It was all about like money. So for the ETH, as soon as it dumped, the NFTs would soar. Like it was literally, so all the crypto people naturally jumped in to try to save their losses. So it was such an easy way to hold hands together. Obviously, there the people who are very maxi about, no, don't touch NFTs, but everyone else is like, I just made back my loss, I'm going to touch this, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, almost every sphere of crypto has their maxis, whether it's the Bitcoin maxis, the ETH maxis, even Cardano has their maxis, and there are people who are diehard NFT maxis. They're like, you know what? You all keep all your tokens, all your fungible tokens. I'm gonna stay over here with my Bored Apes, with my CryptoPunks, with my doodles. I'm gonna keep doing this because this is what I know. This is what has made me money. This is what works for me. I'm not gonna, be doing technical analysis on any token. Leave me with my JPEGs. I'm good.
Yeah.
So the next thing is, okay, you started hosting these Twitter Spaces, thousands of people in your Twitter Spaces. I know you're one of the more popular people on Twitter, and you were doing this like every day, twice a day. What was it that like caused you to feel the need to have that level of commitment? Did you feel like you had to commit to it, or it was just something that drew you in and you were just doing it on autopilot kind of thing?
Oh my God, that's an awesome question. It was such a win-win situation, because I love people. I love to give to people. I'm an attorney, but I have a heart for community. I like to do things that benefit those around me. I like philanthropy and things like that. And I really enjoyed the idea of the pandemic and people coming together and not being depressed at home. And we were stuck here at home. We couldn't leave, and people had to wear masks and vaccines, and there was so much like heavy politics going around. And when you looked at Twitter, it's just people buying like a monkey or a pig or a penguin with a face of an alien. I was like, what is happening in this planet? I felt like how I felt when I first got into crypto, which was, this is something I didn't learn in school and I wish I did. Right. So I love the community the most.
And how, you just mentioned that you are an attorney by profession. How did you initially find a way to translate some of that into the crypto space, into the NFT space, or was it like parallel worlds for a while that eventually came together, or hasn't come together at all?
So at first, I'm very meticulous with my legal career. So I have a step back approach where I learn everything I have to learn about the law, the data, even as we're going into the AI boom, that's what I'm doing now. So I sit down behind these rooms and I learn everything I have to do. But it was very hard to hide as being like one of the only girls there. I was definitely one of the only women of color there for such a long time. So they used to bring me up just to speak, and then I end up being a host. But I find it's such an interesting topic to discuss that there are still a lot of women not, feeling like they're welcome to come up in these spaces. But I don't see that in NFT community and the Metaverse community. I found it was a completely, like, I know you understand the crypto culture, how toxic it can get on the internet when it's a down market and everybody just goes very negative. But the NFT community, I think because they were artists, their attitude and mentality was so different. I actually was not doing it twice a day. I was on these Twitter spaces for like 18 hours, like straight. We used to have 24-hour rooms. They would not let me sleep. They would act like I abandoned them because they would be on their phones whole day, and I would have people from different time zones like, okay, Rima, when you're space, and they'll ask me, okay, open a space, and we would do different mental health spaces as well. So they really got emotionally attached to us having a community. So it was much more than money. In terms of the law, I would, bring that in. But I found it was more of like a hobby, a passion that turned into something I did for work within my legal field as well.
Right. And I mean, I know you've worked with a lot of projects now. Has that been more from a legal perspective, from more of a understanding the market and providing advisory and consultancy services from that aspect? Or has it been like a merging of both things? How have you been able to work in this space?
I mean, I've done everything in this space. My consulting has a big business side to it because I feel like understanding the consumer is important, understanding the market is important. Obviously, the laws are very slow, and IP was such a huge part of why NFTs were so attractive to people because they finally got the IP rights. You had the royalties that the artists were finally getting, and OpenSea did something amazing for those artists, letting them get their royalties for reoccurring sales. I mean, I was listening to something about National Geographic when they came on the space with the NFTs and how they, changed their whole NFT royalty understanding, and that caused a bit of a stir. Also, you have Dungeons and Dragons when they wanted to do their NFTs as well. They changed their understanding behind how they gave royalties, and that also caused a bit of a stir because you saw that the market caused such a disruption. When you find a disruption, you find a lot of eyes wanting and a lot of money being thrown at it to see what's going on there.
Right. So I mean, I don't know if you're able to, but tell us some of the projects that you've worked with. Tell us some of the stranger experiences you've had, some of the, the big wins. Like, give us an idea of behind the curtain of an NFT project.
I have worked from so different perspectives. I've worked for like huge viral NFTs making $44 million in a day. I've worked for celebrity drops. Some of them I can name, some of them I can't name. I worked for, projects that just wanted my advice. I've worked for games, and metaverses. It's been so cool. I think my coolest experience has been my own project that I launched, and it was a historical project, and it was based on, this is going to sound like almost prehistoric now because of the AI boom that was not at the beginning of NFTs 2 years ago. Well, not that that's when it began, but that's when the boom was. But yeah, so basically I started the first woman text generated art piece. So you prompt the art and the NFT, and then the text will be what is given. Before, the JPEGs were the basis of all the art. And then you found Loot. You remember Loot? I don't know if you remember Loot.
Yeah.
And then Loot came, and I was also with that project. It was awesome. And then I did my own project, and that was the first text that had to do with anything to do with a woman. So a lot of the projects, like you find World of Women, were very well regarded because there weren't a lot of projects that had anything to do with women. But now you find an onslaught of many projects that have to do with women, but you see the people behind the creators, behind a lot of these all women projects are all men. So that's hilarious.
I was now gonna ask that. I was now gonna ask, like, what do you think of the fact that a lot of these, like the women projects and the projects targeted to women as consumers became very, very popular. And a lot of people started targeting women with these projects. But a lot of these projects were led by men. The artists were male. The founders were male. What do you think about that? Like, how do you feel that it was positive that women were being pushed to the forefront, or do you think it was just exploitative, where people were just looking for a cash grab using women because it was the hot button at the point in time?
I mean, many of these projects, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, having any woman, focused thing in the NFT community when there was mainly men being the consumers. It's a quite big thing to do. Obviously, there were bad actors that wanted to pump and dump, and that's been exposed now. And that's when the law has to come in and help people who've been in such a situation. But there were a lot of good people who had, use case with their NFTs and real world understanding of how you can, make a difference. I know there was a lot of mental health things that were part of, I believe Boss Babes was one of the ones that I was in on mint days. I love minting NFTs. It was just so fun. Like I spent a lot of money just minting these NFTs that were dropped. And I think that's a big thing, like doing something that's fun, that's making you money. But obviously now a lot of people are very upset because they lost a lot of money in NFTs.
I always say that minting is addictive. Like you go to a mint and you say, you know what, I'm gonna mint one, I'm gonna try it out. But when that one hits your wallet and you see it, all of a sudden you're like, okay, let me get one more. Boom. And then next thing you know, you're 5 NFTs deep. Back in 2021, late 2021, early 2022, you were paying $100 in gas for minting an NFT. So on top of the mint price, you were paying these ridiculous fees. And now, we kind of look back and we're like, what the hell were we doing? Like I try not to do it, but every time I'm forced to have to check WTF.fees, I want to curl up and cry.
Yeah.
When I realize how much money I've spent on fees. And I know it's mainly from minting. Yeah, I've done some trading, but I usually trade mainly on centralized exchanges. So I know most of the fees on my wallet are related directly to NFTs and NFT transactions.
Yeah, and then the tax issue with all of that stuff, huge. Like you just saw a lot of people making huge losses because they were trying to get their taxes done. It's It's big.
Yeah, I mean, December is always a tough time, and again in March when people are trying to get their taxes done. Have you started kind of working in that space in terms of advising from a tax perspective as it relates to NFTs and stuff like that? Do you have any expertise there?
I mean, I have personal experience, but my legal advice is more corporate, commercial. So it depends on what the client needs. But I have experts on my team that help with the tax part of things. But yeah, I do like tax law as well. But a lot of people have encountered a lot of issues with data and leaks, and a lot of wallets were hacked. And that's the thing about crypto. I absolutely adore blockchain technology. But the issue is that there's a very real threat of your money being scammed, just like any credit card scam that you see. Yeah. It's not bulletproof quite yet, and I'm really a big advocate of having a hard wallet, a core wallet, and protecting your stuff. But then it's scary if you forget your password.
Yeah. Like I always say, like one of the best things about crypto is that you are your own bank, but one of the worst things about crypto is that you are your own bank. It's like it's a double-edged sword. And it's so interesting that I think because we're in 2023, technology has jumped ahead, and we have access to all this new technology. We have AI that is doing tremendous things. We have technology like this that allows us to be having this conversation live via video streaming, that kind of thing, I think we forget that crypto is still a very nascent industry. You know what I mean? And we're judging it by developed industries standards. But we have to remember that it's only 14 years old. It's not even a teenager yet. It's still a baby. If we look at what the credit card environment was 14 years in, if we look at what Google was 14 years in, if we look at cell phones would, you know, like I was saying last episode, I think last episode or the episode before, 14 years into cell phones, we had the Nokia 5110 was like the phone, right? Which now you would look back and like, we had Snake. Snake was the only game on that phone. And that was like the cutting edge of that industry at the point in time. So I think, you know, we have to understand that it's still a nascent industry. Yes, everything good, there will be bad actors. There will be people looking to take advantage. And that's why people have to be safe. People have to, you know, you do their own risk mitigation. Like you said, having a cold wallet, having self-custody, securing your seed phrases, securing your private keys, as the case may be, having 2FA authentication for your centralized exchanges, you know, all these different things are so important.
Yeah, and you have to be very careful to have your own keys. So as you said, like people don't know if they're early on, they'll keep their money on these big exchanges, and I'm like, do not do that. I have lost out on that in the earlies. You have to transfer those out of there. And you know, that's like basic information that we were covering in those Twitter spaces and teaching people basically how to, you know, manage the crypto arena and calming everyone down when it was down one day. Like today, you know, the market's all, you know, ready. They call it like a bloody day or whatever they say. But I think it's whatever. I've seen, you know, Bitcoin do tremendous leaps and leap right back. So it's one of those things. I find the use case for Ethereum to be you know, something that, you know, all investors are looking at right now. So, you know, the economy for crypto looks like, yes, it is nascent, but it shows like it's something that is increasing steadily over time. NFTs is literally like Bitcoin when it was $1. They call
Correct.
NFTs today like Bitcoin when it was 2011, 2012. So
2011, correct.
For people to have such strong emotions about it, you have to understand. You have to wait for the technology to come. Even when you think about the VR industry, Facebook just changed their name to Meta, and they're trying to pour this money into to see what they can make of it. But we are still not in a world that is completely changed by augmented reality, by virtual reality. But that world will come where we have, you know, holographic technology, and we're living like a Star Trek generation. I mean, I guess our grandparents would have been, you know, thinking all the things they saw in Star Trek or Star Wars was never going to happen. And we have a lot of the technology available today. Yeah. So it really is about, you know, being able to strap in and take it. And a lot of people are very, you know, easily spooked when it comes to their money, which is a good thing. You should not be like the people are in crypto. The people in crypto, they're used to huge losses. Like we always laugh at the stock market boys, even though, you know, I have a lot of investment banker buddies being in the legal field. But yeah, the stock market, when they go up like 10%, you know, they feel like they did a great day. We're like, we went up. They're not ready for crypto because of the huge investment it takes and the huge losses it takes. And when I say investment, it's more of your heart because it really is an emotional investment.
It is an emotional roller coaster. Like I always say that crypto has ruined me, right? You know, like pre-crypto, 5% to 10% gains per year was like, yes, like you hit the jackpot.
Yep.
No, if it's not 2x or better, like, do I really want to invest in that? Like, it's so ridiculous because, like, we've seen 50x's, we've seen 100x's, and for context, we a 50x is 50 times your money. I mean, that's what 5,000% gains. So it really is insane to think about. But we've also seen 98% losses.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad when it goes straight to zero. That chart looks bad. It's not pretty. Like, I looked at Solana, what happened with Solana, and I was like, I saw that coming because all the VCs pumped their money into Solana. I knew they didn't have the stomach for it because it's not their money, so they're gonna have to pull out, and that's what happened. I saw an altcoin. Someone was like laughing at someone. They put in $2,000 4 days ago, and they made $2 million, and they pulled all out. That's crypto for you. You have people who making that kind of money on little, and it's so tempting to people to come in. But if you're not smart, you will get taken advantage of. So it's a place. I always say not giving financial advice. You do that at your own risk.
Yeah, I mean, do your own research, because the fact of the matter is that everybody has different financial goals. Everybody has different risk tolerances. Everybody has different risk profiles. Everybody has different time horizons. So even listening to YouTubers, even listening to, people on TikTok or whatever, even listening to your friends or your family members, like they might have a different risk tolerance to you. So I always tell people, do your own research. One of the things that I say at the start of this show, which I didn't today, is that we do not give financial advice. Everything here is about information, conversation, and education. It's the ICE rule, right? Because, how I perceive the market and the risk that I'm willing to take might be very different to you. I might be willing to put money away and leave it for 5 years. You know what I mean? And we know that over a 5-year period, Bitcoin has never really taken a loss. But some people are putting their rent money that they need next month, and we don't know what the market gonna look like next month. So yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
People do that with their stimulus check, and they made lots of money. So if you do it and you win, good for you. If you do it and you lose, you knew what the risk was, and it's really that I've heard people make $300,000 over $1,000 stimulus check. So it's really. It's one of those things. Are you smart? Is it your time? It's not nice to sound this way, because people who are traditional minded with their finances, they want to know for sure. I put this in, I get 5% out. I put this in, I get 10% out. They do not want to know that it can all be lost, and they do not want to know that they can make $100 million from it. It's too extreme, and that's the community. We still live in the crypto because regulation is still coming. We have, countries adopting Bitcoin as currencies, which is awesome. We have, countries that are really hard on the crypto community, like, so it really depends on, the education behind it to the masses and why they want to get into it. I think it's different when you have something like digital real estate, because that has more of an asset behind it. Right. So, just having a token, which is just, if you know how to flip, then good luck.
Yeah, and I think it presents a lot more practical application that people can identify with. So, I think that's a good segue to talk a little bit about the metaverse. Like what we've seen with like metaverse spaces like Decentraland and Sandbox and Somnium Space, like these I think are going to be environments where a lot of advertisers see value, because instead of putting up a billboard on a highway and not knowing how many people engage with it or how many people see it, in a metaverse world, you can track how many people specifically passed this particular spot, how many people had eyes on your particular space. And I think those metrics make it so much more valuable for advertisers, for agencies, for brands. What are your thoughts about the whole metaverse space? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, it is so early in the metaverse space, but it shows that we are in an excellent place to learn about it. So I encourage, my friends' fathers, because these are the ones who have all this huge capital to invest in, and they don't know anything about it. So the younger generation, the TikTok generation, they obviously know everything about it, but they don't have the money to invest in it. But the people who we want to build it to go forward are our parents or parents' parents. And I think education is such a huge part of it. You see big conglomerates like Gucci, you see Tiffany's, you see Nike, you see Adidas. They come in and they're in the metaverse. They obviously have the data. They don't just throw their money at things. Even Playboy, like they had a NFT launch, and they want to be in the metaverse. Why do they want to be in the metaverse? The answer is because that's where the world is going. There is the Ready Player One move towards socialization and globalization, and the reason that there's such a huge boom in social media is because people have an inherent need to be accepted, and that is what the metaverse offers. It doesn't just offer business and you can play games in a different way. It offers a sense of belonging, and that is something that's always going to be a human asset. So I think it's definitely too early on to measure it, but it's also too early on to count it out. I think if you have the resources to have fun and just explore and be creative and let your users be creative in a different way, because obviously I can't, I could buy something from Gucci, but I don't have any creative ability with Gucci. But that changes in the metaverse. And I like that because you can do things with the assets depending on the IP. And it's nice. It's really nice. They had the Meta Perkins and the huge legal case behind that. And it just shows people are doing different things with their money, and they want to bring that into the metaverse. They want to have that same transfer of social clout. That is such a huge thing. I think in the coming year to see PhDs and degrees based on the metaverse and the human psychology behind it and the biotrends. I think definitely people are going to do this for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what I tell people is that just take a step back and think about where branding, where customer engagement is today. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even, a TikTok would not have, if you had pitched TikTok and TikTok branding and influencer marketing in a boardroom, they would chase you out of there. But now all these brands are so tied to social media platforms like Instagram, like TikTok. Everybody has a presence there. And I just say, you know what? Just take a step back and understand how much things have changed from traditional advertising on press and traditional media to where it is now with social media. What can you perceive as being the next step of that engagement between your brand and your potential customer? And for me, it's almost a no-brainer that it's going to be in the metaverse. It's going to be that kind of VR, AR type engagement where you can engage with your consumer in an almost physical way anywhere in the world. So, as you said, I think educating yourself around the space is so important. Ensuring that your team is not just adversarial to new technology, that they are flexible enough and open-minded enough to be able to adapt to the changing space, because we've seen what happens to companies that are not willing to adapt. They become the Blackberries, they become the Toys R Us of the world, they become the dinosaurs.
Yeah, and dinosaurs are only welcome in JPEG land. Oh gosh. But yeah, no, I think what you're saying is just on the ball. Like, the technology is advancing. Where is it going to head? You have to do this. And I'm telling you, like, there are people who do market trends like 10 years before. And could you seen this coming? Did you know that people was going to sell a JPEG, great JPEG, but for $69 million? No, you didn't know that. So I think that's so awesome that has happened. And NFTs has really shown that we are going to have such a great future with the metaverse. And it shows that also when it comes to what we're going to do together, the limits are unstoppable. Like before, they had a kind of understanding with celebrities that, the the marketing they do, they will have to pay like $1 million for this brand deal, $1 million for that. Now we have the rise of these social media influencer, and they're a lot cheaper, and they drive a lot of people as well. So it shows that it's going down to itemized points. So it's becoming cheaper to get people to look at you. TikToks, they're free, and you can get 1 million views. So it shows where we're headed. We're headed to a economy where people are more involved in what was usually monopolized before.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at brands, I'm saying brands, but I mean, it's an individual. When we look at people like Mr. Beast and what he's been able to build, just from his social media presence, he was recently offered $1 billion for his empire, which he turned down. And so many analysts have said he was right. You know, what he should have been offered should have been closer to $10 billion, based on his engagement numbers, based on his click numbers. I saw somebody do a comparison between his engagement and what it costs to do a Super Bowl ad and a Super Bowl ads engagement. And they were like, you know, at these numbers, Mr. Beast is worth something closer to $20 billion, based on the market, the eyes that he's able to capture. So, you know, it's a whole evolution. 10 years ago, that would be insane to even conceptualize, you know, and 10 years from now, we're going to be looking back and saying, you know, even all the predictions that we're making right now might be blown away in 2 years. 10 years from now, we might be doing something that we couldn't even conceptualize in this moment here today.
I mean, in 10 years, we'll be the best in the industry because we're here. And I think that's an important thing, like being there, understanding at the ground root level what the people like, and, you know, just, you know, being there. That's why my Twitter spaces did really well, because I understand the market, I understand the people, and you have a sense of real community. It's not about, you know, making money and you know, just, you know, pumping bags. Like, that stuff is not interesting to people when they're going through real life, and we all did. When we had a global pandemic, it shut us down, and we had to really reevaluate what was important. Mr. Beast realized his community was important. That's why he didn't sell his community out. A lot of people, they don't take these things for granted when they have little options left. And I'm telling you, they're onto something when they said he's worth more.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, community. And I think that's another important aspect that I think a lot of people don't see when they look into crypto. Like, community is such a strong thing. Like, there are projects who have, like, people, I'm one of those people who discounted meme tokens because I said, you know what, these have no fundamentals behind them. They have nothing. Like, this is just bullshit. But what they do have is a very strong and vibrant community. And I've seen projects that have all the technicals, they have all the infrastructure, they have the biggest brains, and they don't build a community, and they fail. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to understand that community, connecting with a community, building a community comes before any potential success, especially in this 2023 and beyond period that we are in.
I mean, I totally agree with you. I was like listening to a Forbes interview earlier this morning, and they were saying something similar, and they're talking about what is more important with these crypto assets. It's not just a community that they build, but really a community that is open source, so a building community. I love the Doge community. They're such enthusiasts. They go into the stock market, and they support GameStop, and they support, you know, these other, you know, meme type situations. It shows that the possibilities are endless. When you join communities, you're going to have something big, and that's what the Web3 culture is all about. It's not about, you know, one business against another business. It's about really, we're a team, and we're joining together to do something awesome with the people that we find to be our early supporters. And I absolutely love airdrops. I'm a huge fan of airdrops. I was in on the .eth easily early. I was very supportive of them. I got a nice bag from them. I said thank you. I love that so much, that, you know, in the early days of these you know, whether it be NFT, whether it be crypto, whether it be metaverse, whatever you are, honey. If I, was an early adopter and you gave me a bag after, I'm very thankful. So airdrops in the crypto community, like it far outweighs anything I could imagine. I got an airdrop for Christmas. I remember I was like, "Whoa, it was nice to get this gift." Like, there's one thing to say like you getting a gift, and it's a whole different thing to say, "Oh, I'm just giving you a bunch of cash just to say thank you." It's a good thank you.
Listen, I mean, like where else in the world do you do that? Like you're just going about your business, you're engaging with a community because you like what they're doing, and then they turn around, they say, you know what, thank you, here you go, share in our success, for being a part of our success. And I think that is the direction that I would love to see crypto kind of just infiltrate traditional spaces, where companies start really sharing their success with the people who have helped them build that success. And yeah, airdrops, free bags. I love free bags. I love myself an airdrop, like you said, whether it's an NFT, whether it's a token. And I've missed some very, very exciting airdrops because I've been too busy and too lazy, but it's something that I really want to get back to in terms of investigating new projects that I believe in, and start playing around with new things a lot more. So yeah, very excited about that.
Yeah, I think it's most exciting because you don't expect it. You just do it because you like it. You don't know if you'll ever get an airdrop or if they'll ever do anything. But obviously there's the, more, I guess, ravenous part of the community that is like, when drop. But I think it's nice when you don't expect the gift and you get the gift. I think Bored Ape Yacht Club capitalized on making their holders very happy. I mean, they would like give away $25,000 worth airdrops or $100,000 worth airdrops.
I know someone personally who received about $160,000 worth of ApeCoin in that airdrop.
Yeah, I mean, my friends on in the crypto community, in the NFT Metaverse community, they've made millions like in days. So it's very difficult for someone in the corporate community, someone having working 3, 4, 5 jobs, trying to make ends meet, trying to support their family and go into work, to hear on TikTok, oh, by the way, I bought this and I made $2 million in a day. It's difficult. And it shows that people need to turn into TikTok and turn into these Twitter spaces that I'm hosting and learn something and see what to do.
Yeah, follow Rima. Follow Rima on TikTok, on Twitter, because I mean, she is in those communities. She does those spaces where you get that alpha, and that's real talk. And it's easy to catch on to something when it hits mainstream media and they're talking about it on CNBC or Fox or whatever. But at that point, you're basically exit liquidity. No disrespect.
It's gonna dump a bit, like, for sure. You're gonna get it, and they're gonna dump a bit, like with Dogecoin when Elon Musk, changed the Twitter logo to the Shiba Inu. Obviously, Doge soared up, and then it dumped.
And then he changed it back.
It's back now, and the coin it dumped. But it's the way you have to understand. So people who don't know, they're the most volatile because they'll go in with their mortgage. They'll go in with things they're not supposed to go in with, and they lose it all and they get wrecked. So that's the term that we use in the community. You get wrecked.
Yeah. And then it's crypto's fault. It's not your fault that you didn't do any investigation. It's not your fault that you didn't do any research. It's not your fault that you invested more than you can afford to lose. It's crypto's fault, right? And that is where I get very disenchanted with people who are looking on from the outside, because the fact of the matter is you made a bad decision. Yes, there are bad actors in the space. Yes, there are people who are doing pump and dumps, and that's not right. But at the end of the day, you have to be a responsible participant and do your research. You know what I mean? If you're not willing to go to Vegas for a weekend and drop that amount of money on something that you've not researched, then don't put it into a coin. Don't put it into an NFT project, because you're doing the same thing as going to Vegas and gambling if you've not done your research. It's gambling.
It's definitely not treasured if you aren't able to spend the money and you spend it. Because then when you get really emotional about it, it's very difficult to share in your huge emotions, because it's not a good idea. It's really just not a good idea. If you want to get rich quick, everybody knows there's a lot of scams that you get involved in. So just sit back, relax, have fun, and laugh.
And laugh. So Rima, I mean, we've pushed past. It's crazy. We've already done 45 minutes. Shout out to everybody in the comments. My boy Stevie, as always. Anil, Twaley. Shout out to everybody in the comments. Shout out to my good friend Alex. Happy birthday to you. Rima, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to leave us with any last words, any inspiration, anything that you want to either refocus on, or anything new that you want to touch on before we head out.
Oh gosh, I want to say thank you so much for having me on this show. I've wanted to come on for such a long time, 2 years in the making. I want to say hi to everybody watching. Hi to everybody who will watch. Definitely follow. Like, he's so good at what he does. I've been following you on your social media and seeing what you're about. You're really good. Keep it up. To everybody who's in the NFT community, you don't understand, or the Metaverse community, and you don't understand, you are so early. I know you'll agree with me. When I got into crypto in 2016, I thought, oh gosh, I'm so late. I shouldn't. But I'm telling you, you're so early. It's never too late to learn something new. And just remember, I love you, God loves you, and you'll be okay. Everything will be okay. Keep going.
Yep. And Rima, thank you so much for finally taking the time out of what I know to be a very, very busy schedule to spend some time with us. Guys, I'm going to put Rima's Twitter link below. Go follow her. She is the person to be following. Her Twitter spaces are legendary. If you want the alpha, if you want the knowledge, if you want the education, that's the place to go. And yeah, I mean, become part of a community, find a community that relates to you. And just like she said, have fun with it. Rima, thank you so much for being with us today. I look forward to seeing you in many, many spaces to come.
Yes, same. Thank you so much.
Guys, thank you again for being with me another Thursday evening. You guys know how I feel about this space. You'll know how I feel about this crypto blockchain space, NFT space. I truly, truly believe that adoption is inevitable. We can't fight it. They can't fight it. And I look forward to seeing you guys on this journey. Be blessed.